And in the clearest sign yet that Donald Trump and his campaign are gearing up for a really hardcore election season with him performing so poorly in advanced polling numbers, it looks like we are trying to change the current national conversation from one acronym to another. Yeah, I know COVID-19, kind of a big deal, trying to reopen the schools and just cram kids back in there, you know. But no, apparently what we're talking about today is MS-13. If you don't know what MS-13 is, don't feel bad. It's probably been 2 years since you've heard about them. And before that, another 2 years, because you only hear about MS-13 during election season. So I thought we would take a look real quick at what MS-13 is, why it's in the news, what Donald Trump's talking about. And then, of course, after we talk about what Donald Trump's talking about, I will then tell you what the actual truth is, because, you know, President Alternative Facts over there is sure as shit not going to let a good press conference go to waste. So let's hit this real quick, get you up to speed here. Mara Salvatrucha, commonly known as MS-13, is an international criminal gang that originated in Los Angeles, California in the 1970s and the 1980s. Los Angeles. Originally, the gang was set up to protect Salvadorian immigrants from other gangs in the Los Angeles area. Over time, the gang grew into a more traditional criminal organization. MS-13 is defined by its cruelty and its rivalry with the 18th Street Gang. Many MS-13 members were deported to El Salvador after the close of the Salvadorian Civil War in 1992. Yes, we had a hand in that one as well, because that's what America does. Or upon being arrested for facilitating the spread of the gang to Central America. The gang is currently active in many parts of the continental United States, Canada, Mexico, and Central America. Most members are Central American, Salvadorians in particular. So just in case you didn't quite catch that, this international scourge that you hear about every 2 years when you hear about, you know, the immigrant caravan, the line of brown people who are crawling through the desert to, you know, come invade you and take your shit, that you hear about every 2 years during an election season, and apparently it contains members of the dreaded MS-13 gang. Please remember that MS-13 started in Los Angeles, and then we took that what evolved into a gang in Los Angeles, sent them all to El Salvador after propping up one half of their country in a civil war to you know, completely savage their economy, because again, that's what we do. We actually exported a gang to El Salvador, which then thrived and now has an open conduit between El Salvador and Los Angeles. Something the Trump administration fails to mention when it's discussing the El Salvadorian gang known as MS-13, because, of course, fear the brown people, fear the foreigners. Yeah, it's an American gang. Started here. Woo! It's like Budweiser. You know, it started here, it became a business here, and then somebody from a foreign country bought it. Budweiser. As an international gang, its history is closely tied to United States-El Salvador relationships. In 2018, the gang's U.S. membership of up to 10,000 accounted for less than 1% of the 1.4 million gang members in the United States, and a similar share of gang murders. The gang is often referenced by the United States Republican Party to advocate for anti-immigration policies. The gang became a more traditional criminal organization under the auspices of Ernesto Deris. Deris was a former member of the Salvadorian Special Forces, trained in Panama by United States Green Berets. Any more questions as to where MS-13 originated or where they got their knowledge and their skill? No? Then we can move on with today's story. Here we go. Donald Trump. Hit me. Tell me what's going on, El Presidente.
More than 20 of the criminals we indicted and arrested in the past 7 days were illegal aliens. Yesterday, for the first time ever, the Eastern District of Virginia, thank you very much, indicted MS-13 leaders on charges of terrorism. So we have the MS-13 leader on charges of terrorism, and that's a first. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. President.
Hold on. Did anybody notice that in 6 seconds it morphed from we arrested a bunch of leaders of different portions of MS-13 to we arrested the leader of MS-13? Okay.
Terrorism, which gives us extra strength. In New York and Nevada, 21 MS-13 members and leaders have been indicted on charges including murder, kidnapping, and drug trafficking. The DOJ has also announced that it will seek the death penalty for a bloodthirsty MS-13 leader responsible for the despicable killing of 7 Americans, including 2 teenage girls.
So, Trump apparently spent about an hour having a press conference. They had maps out. They had Bill Barr with a pointer. They were talking about all this amazing stuff that happened. You know, they swooped in, like a hawk. That's what America does. Wait, Trump's back to talking about MS-13 as he did his entire previous presidential campaign? Interesting that during the last 4 years, I haven't even heard of them. Like, not even one time. He's so broken, it's truly embarrassing. And if you're wondering to yourself, yeah, I thought MS-13 was a scourge, and then they kind of went away. And when did all this happen? Well, all of these arrests and all of these charges that are happening right now that Trump had a huge press conference about to brag about, you know, right in the middle of him taking a shellacking over his plan to force schools to reopen during a global pandemic, and that if they don't, he's going to take away their federal funding. To draw attention away from that, he decided to come out and have this press conference about MS-13 and all this amazing stuff that he just did. But it turns out, as you can see, the MS-13 gang members indicted of the killings of Long Island teenagers, the 2 teenagers he was referencing in that speech, they were indicted in 2017. Yeah, that happened like over 3 years ago. They're just now getting around to filing federal charges. They could have done this at any time. However, Trump has been sitting on this, waiting to bust it out on a rainy day when his numbers were really dead dropping, and he could go back to explaining to you how he's going to be the law and order president. You're seeing that a lot, you know, with his recent speeches about, you know, the dreaded Antifas and, you know, the things you need to be afraid of. Well, now we need to be afraid of MS-13 again because they're killing people with machetes 3 years ago. But you should be afraid of them now, not 3 years ago when he stopped talking about this. And again, they're going to seek a death penalty in, I think on like 2 or 3 of them. But basically, federal prosecutors are filing charges against people who have already been arrested by police forces in separate states, in California, in New York, etc. Yeah, I know. He came out of the gate this morning like, rah! Like, you know, they were out there, you know, all night, you know, with a swarm sting operation. There were feds climbing out of vans, and they came to, you know, discuss it. And these are people who've been in custody for like 2-3 years. And he's just getting around to making a big deal about it now because, oh, I don't know, maybe his presidential campaign is about to kick off and he's polling 14 points behind Joe Biden. And good Lord, how much work does that take? Trumpy. Yeah. So immediately as this press conference hit the air, the Trump War Room, this is the Twitter account of his campaign staff, they started putting out Joe Biden ads. Joe Biden would stop deporting violent MS-13 gang members. Of course, they'd love to see him become president. I'm on Team Joe, MS-13 gang members. Thanks for pledging to not deport us. This is another trope you're going to hear an awful lot as Trump tries to take a bumper sticker slogan and cram it down your throat so that you don't actually have the time or the wherewithal to ask exactly how much bullshit is being mixed in with that slogan. It's that the do-nothing Democrats and the soft-on-crime Democrats and all the problems in the Democratic-run cities that have to deal with immigration is because we don't want to deport gang members back to El Salvador, you know, to the home base of their U.S. grown crime syndicate, which started in L.A. by a member of the Salvadorian National Guard who was trained by the United States of America in Panama. Here you go. Here's another little chunk, and then we're going to dig into these numbers.
While radical left-wing politicians have fought to open borders and welfare for illegal aliens, my administration has fought for safe streets. We want security for our people. We want the rule of law. We want law and order. In the last 3 years, ICE has deported over 16,000 gang members and arrested over 2,000 members of MS-13. Think of those numbers, 16,000 and arrested over 2,000 members of MS-13. We've also deported a lot of the MS-13s out of our country. This week's actions by...
Yes, you've deported over 16,000 of them, but...
by the Joint Task Force Vulcan is the most recent offense to, this has been a big offensive in my administration's war on foreign gangs, of which...
Joint Task Force Vulcan, formed to fight foreign gangs that are based in Los Angeles, California, and started by heavy metal fans in the 80s.
We came into this administration and we said, what's going on? We had gangs from countries that you wouldn't believe.
Like the country of Los Angeles.
Well, radical...
Yep, the radical left wing. You know those radicals like Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden. They're just so radical they're half a step away from, throwing on a black bandana and going out into the streets and taking out a Starbucks window. Ooh, look out, the radical left is coming for you. 16,000 gang members deported and arrested over 2,000 members of MS-13. Wow, sounds like Trump's working really hard, right? Yeah, how about a little fact check here? It's looking more and more like Republicans will use this as their central campaign issue in the 2018 election. They're going to use this despicable act to do it, so batten down the hatches. Now, this is a thread from 2018, and this tweeter threw the initial tweet up as a reminder today that MS-13 has been long since debunked. Trump's going back to his idiotic greatest hits. Most of them, if not all of them, don't hold up. So here you go. You ready? First of all, detection of MS-13 gang members amounted to 0.075% of migrants coming from Central America. This is far from the infestation of violent gang members described by the president. 228 members out of 303,000 migrants. Staggering. Yeah. MS-13 gang was founded in Los Angeles, which we discussed, by the children of Salvadoran immigrants who fled a brutal civil war, a war which was substantially funded by the United States. It's our number one export. War. It's what we do. MS-13 is actually a small gang. There are an estimated 10,000 MS-13 gang members in the USA, less than 1% of the 1.4 million total gang members here. CNN claims that 8% of gang members arrested during an ICE sweep last May were members of MS-13. 8%. 8%. Which means all 92% of all the other gang members arrested by ICE, i.e., gang members from foreign countries, were from different gangs, yet Donald Trump does not mention any of them. I have no idea who any of these other gangs are, but apparently they're 92% of all the gang members that we catch coming over from foreign countries through the INS Dragnet. I had no idea. I was under the impression that MS-13 was like billions of brown dudes with, small Uzis and lowriders who were just fucking driving over the border like some Mad Max scenario. But no, apparently it was 328 people mixed in with the entire annual immigration from Central America. So while Trump goes out of his way to be the law and order president and to scare you with the boogeyman of MS-13, which is a very real gang that accounts for about this much of illegal immigration and this much of the crime in America, he's going to freak you all out with that boogeyman. He's going to beat you over the head with it for the next 6 months because, the radical the radical Democrats like Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden apparently want to give them all free chicken salad sandwiches and, medical benefits. And MS-13 killed somewhere between 25 and 40 people last year. Police across America killed almost 1,000. I don't know. Just something to think about as you spend the next 6 months getting assaulted with the boogeyman that is MS-13. Coming to get you.